Okay, it's 2 p.m. Let's get started. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, can you type 1 in the chat? Only got 8 audience over here. Thank you, Shengxuan, Wu 老师, Lulu. Okay, so let's get started. My topic is application of flipped classroom and task-based approach to an online Chinese classroom. And during today's session, 3 aspects will be covered. Firstly, I will talk about the flipped model and how it is modified to fit my Chinese teaching. And then I will share some thoughts on TBLT, task-based language teaching, and some strategies that might be useful for your TBLT. If we still have time, I will share some data that I extracted from Learning Mode. Okay, so let's get started. Before we start, in order to seize the chance and know each other better, we will have a people bingo game. I don't know how many of you have heard of this game. If you have played this game before, can you type 2 in the chat? I can't find where is my chat. Okay. We will use this form in the charts. I will, in the chat, I will send the form to the chat. Let me stop sharing and find the chat. Okay. If you click this link, you can download the chart that we will use for this game. And there are some rules of playing this game. So firstly, you need to interview your classmates in the breakout rooms. You have 2 minutes to mingle. Yes. And if he or she matches the traits, write his or her name down in that sentence. Each name should only be used twice. So you will be moved to another group after 2 minutes. And then when we return to the main session, you need to share your findings. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to put you into different breakout rooms. If you are new here, please download this Word file first before you go to the breakout rooms. So we have 6 participants in this session. So I'm going to put you into 3 rooms. Okay, since we have only got 6 participants here, so each name can be used 3 times. Each name can be used 3 times, okay? You can go to the breakout after downloading the Word file. Lulu and Shuo Liu, are you there? Lulu, Shuo Liu. Have you received the invitation to the breakout room? Okay, it's fine, Lulu. And Shuo. If you are new here, the other participants are in the breakout rooms now, doing a task named People Bingo. So they will be returned in around 6 minutes. Jing Zhou, did you receive an invitation to the breakout rooms? Can you click the invitation and go to the breakout room, please? Thank you. Okay. Zhumu 402, are you logged out?
海霞是我
啊，沈老师，
很奇怪，我跟吴瑶刚刚就是在一个 breakout room 里面，但是很快就变成小齐。
对，因为你们需要那个 mingle， 然后做一个任务。
然后，但是那个小齐完全就他也没有声音，然后他就不知道他那个 room 是有问题的。
啊？
我就想打个电话给小齐，他说他什么打不开电脑还是什么的，就是他的设备有问题。
因为需要2个人 mingle， 然后完成这个任务，所以就
就是我跟吴瑶做完以后再去跟小齐做。 然后再换到下一组，一共3个组，是不是这个意思？
对，对。那我把你放到第2组好了，就这样。
对，小齐那个组你可以问他一下，他好像说他电脑出了点问题。
好的，我们就快结束了，没关系。
我悄悄的没有改命。
没关系，我没有想到今天只有6个人来参加，所以
可能到下午他们不知道是不是都去玩其他的了，或做其他事情了。
对，
没关系的。那你帮我放到另外一个组里去。
我放了，没有收到吗？
咦，
哎，我放了。
哎，
我再放一下。
哦，好的。
How did you go? 吴老师 you didn't turn your audio on, so I can't hear you.
Sorry, I bingoed.
Oh, so can you share your line, your bingo?
好的。我能这个分享 screen 对吧？好。
对。
能看见不？
能。Yes, we
so,
can.
Yeah, so Xuanying used to have a pet, a hamster, not anymore. Andy knows how to set up a website. Andy made Marking Mate. Andy can whistle, and Xuanying speaks Chinese.
Okay. Andy, which song can you whistle? Can you perform for us?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't whistle very loud. Sorry.
Is it a happy birthday song?
Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good. Okay.
Amazing year, Haixia.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So this activity is normally conducted at the very beginning of each semester to let students to know each other better, or even during the semester. When for example, when we learn travel, we can design some of the questions related to students' traveling experience. So I think it's a very good activity. So let's move on to next part. So because we don't have enough time here, so let's move quickly. So there are numerous of teaching methodologies and approaches in second language teaching. And personally, I don't really think there is a better approach. I'm not saying that flipped classroom works better than audiolingual. Maybe for some certain group of students, audiolingual might work even better than flipped or task-based learning. So I'm not really like promoting flipped or task-based learning. Just want to share some of my experience with flipped classroom and task-based learning and teaching. So we all know that Chinese courses went online since February 2020 due to the pandemic, and we have been facing loads of challenges of online teaching since then. The first is students in attention with their camera off. We don't know if there is even a human being on the other side. So like now, I don't know if there is a human being. Okay, and even with the camera on, sometimes we can't see if they are playing their computer games at the same time. And the second is unmotivated and disengaged. There are so many distractions online or maybe offline of their surroundings. And the real-time feedback and interaction. In the real classroom, the teacher can nod, we can smile, we can eye contact with the students. Body language plays an important role. We can tell how they feel today by their expressions on their face or their gestures. Or just the atmosphere in the classroom, we can get it. And we can give immediate feedback, not just between teacher and student, but also between student and student. And number 4 is diminished social aspects. When on-site, students can visit our office during our office hour, and we can chat in the hallway before or after class. Students can hang out after class. And the individual differences of students, the teacher can offer help to some students while monitoring the whole classroom when on-site. But now it's impossible to do so. So in the previous breakout room session, I can't actually go to each room and monitor you and help some certain students. And number 6 is the time zone differences. 2 of my students this semester have to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to attend the synchronous classes. So you can imagine how their life would be like. And the unstable tech issues, although we have Yao here to help us, but the internet connection is always a problem. Like we are all in China now, but just 1 minute ago in the breakout rooms, we have some internet connection problem. It's loading forever and takes forever to respond, and we have to wait for students. Could flipped be the solution to those problems? Because unlike traditional classrooms, students are introduced to the new content before class starts. The flipped classroom often integrates with PBL, project-based learning, or problem-based learning, or task-based learning in class. So in class, they will solve some problems and conduct some tasks and projects, or some mini projects. And the students check their understanding and extend their learning after class. So why to flip? Firstly, I think it is engagement-based learning. And student-centered learning. As you can see, students can't just sit there and listen. Secondly, the teacher can provide real-time feedback during class because we are doing tasks. And the students can interact with each other because they have to collaborate with each other. Collaborative learning can also make them feel connected. And since students are learning the new content by themselves before the class starts, they are in charge of the learning pace. So they can pause and go back if the learning materials are videos. It can also help with those students in a different time zone. So they don't have to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning. And usually the materials are reusable. So I can use those materials I created in this semester, next semester, and accessible to students all the time. So they can review when they feel necessary. By the way, the orange color stands for synchronous classes and the blue asynchronous classes. Okay, so we are all very familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, as we can see in the flipped model, before class, students will remember and understand. During class, they will apply, analyze, evaluate, and even create. After class, they will probably evaluate and create. So I personally believe that more teaching time should be spent on and more help should be offered to when students are on the top 4 levels of this dynamic system, which are apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So, and in a traditional PPP model, the presentation, practice, and production, the teachers are at the center of the presentation part. So although we ask students several questions, but we are at the center. But in the flipped model, only students are involved in the presentation, or we can call it the preview part. And the students will practice and produce individually or jointly. It puts students at the center of all the learning activities. Okay. However, my experience with the flipped was not very successful at the very beginning. I tried it twice with my CLT 107, 207, 307 module and my CLT 021 module. The first one is a year-long module for advanced Chinese learners with 5 teaching hours per week. The second is an intensive course for beginners with 9 hours per week. So here is what we did. Before the live class, students were asked to watch mini videos, usually 10 minutes long, following up with some online quizzes created with learning mode functions and other tech tools. Students will complete some tasks during class, and they need to review after class. It didn't work. None of the students watched the video before the live session in CLT 107, 207, 307. I asked why, and they said they preferred learning new knowledge from me. I assume it was because they are students of low motivation, so I tried it again in my CLT 021. The intensive module. I mean, they choose the intensive course for a reason, right? Because they like to learn Chinese. But it was a failure too. Only 1 or 2 students did the preview work, and most of them kept asking questions during the task because of their lack of the preview knowledge. So they didn't watch the video. So there are lots of problems faced. Only 1 or 2 students did the preview work in CLT 021. And most of that, so students complained about the demanding workload. And to be honest, I wasn't happy with my workload either. I felt like I was a producer making and cutting videos every day, all the time. So here are some of the reasons I summarized later. So an adapted version was adopted in my CLT 027 module this semester. And finally, it works this time to reduce the workload of students and the teacher, me. The asynchronous class takes the place of the preview part in a traditional flipped classroom. After that, students will have to complete some online exercises to see how well they have done and practice what they have learned before they move to the synchronous classes, where interactive tasks and activities will be conducted. Homework will be assigned after, and there will be a review class at the end of each topic. to make it more specific, as a teacher, I followed the 5-step guide. Firstly, to prepare the materials for asynchronous classes of the week and design the tasks for synchronous classes, share them on Learning More or Box, following with the interactive practicing using tech tools, and offer feedback to students. Students complete tasks, and we then summarize what we have done. Normally we use the study journal or the of the Padlet and Jeopardy game and mind map, etc. 3 key features in this model. The first, asynchronous and synchronous classes combined, and structured, systematic, reusable, and interactive teaching materials. And the third is diverse tasks. So those are most of the tech tools I have explored. If you have been to my previous session I have delivered, you probably have known most of them. If you haven't, I can still share the Word file with all the YouTube links, so you can explore by yourself. Sometimes I feel a little bit overwhelmed with all those tech tools because it seems there's no end of it. Just recently, I have learned 2 more tech tools, the wall clap and the pear deck. My suggestion is to pick 3 to 5 key tech tools that are most functional and work for your teaching, and put them to a really good use at first. So just leave the others alone and firstly get to know these key tech tools first. So here comes my question. Are activities designed using those tech tools tasks? If you think it's a task, can you type 1 in the chat? If you think it's not a task, can you type 2? I don't know why I can't see the chat. Okay, so for example, these are the activities designed with the word wall. Are they tasks? Personally, I don't think it's a task. It's just a fancy version of the quiz, right? And this one is like you draw and guess the meaning. It's created with the gym kit. I don't think it's a task either. And this one is created with So Creative. Not a task for me. And this one is designed with H5P. Those 2 are designed with H5P. And this is an interactive video with H5P. This is Bamboozle Jeopardy game. And this is just the Etherpad on Learning More. So to me, those, I don't think they are tasks. Of course, if you let students to design a Jeopardy game using Bamboozle, you can consider it as a task, but it's still pedagogic task. It's not like a real life task. So this one might be considered as a task because students will have to make a video and they need to use their own language to introduce themselves, and they need to respond to other students' video. What is a task? According to Rod Ellis, a task involves a primary focus on meaning, has some kind of gap. The participants choose the linguistic resources needed and has a clearly defined outcome. This PowerPoint page is from one of his speeches, and unlike a task, an exercise focuses on using the language itself, has no gap, and is just text manipulating and only care if the language has been used accurately or not. So the previous design, I would call them exercise, not task. So by the way, his lecture named Using Tasks in Language Teaching is still available on YouTube. So you can just search his name and you can find it. Unlike Professor Rod Ellis, Professor Zheng from University of Virginia delivered a workshop on TBLT to us this May. And according to her, these are the 5 key features of a task. Focus on meaning, communicative, real-world experience, cognitive ability, and language outcomes. If you want to have the access to the recorded video of this workshop, I believe we can still share it with you via box. We can easily find a difference here between her criteria and Alice. Alice didn't mention the real-world experience in the criteria. Actually, he has categorized the tasks into real-life tasks versus pedagogic tasks, input-based versus output, closed versus open, here and now versus there and then, unfocused versus focused, teacher-generated versus learner-generated. I agree that real-life tasks are better with more authenticity, but pedagogic tasks are more practical, easier to organize. That's more often used in my classroom. I will leave the other parts of his excellent speech to you. The YouTube video of his workshop is highly recommended. So time to share some of the tasks I organized the last semester. Here is a form with 12 main tasks we have done. As you can see, there are 12 weeks. And week 1, we did a people bingo game and a flip grade self-introduction video, respond to others' posts. Week 2, this is the topic, and we conducted a debate. Week 3 is a presentation, students' presentation and poster making to introduce famous people of their country, in their country. And week 4 is a role play. So week 5 is a virtual tour and a poster design and reply to a customer's email. Week 6 is a date night movie and a movie recommendation. Week 8 is a look into the differences between Chinese and Western weddings and my wedding plan. Week 9, the recipe of a Chinese food, a Chinese kushi. And week 10 is the comparison between Chinese and Western well-being. Week 11 is a role play, run for the president of USA, and a picture talk, a startup story. Week 12 is also a picture talk. Those 2 are actually children's books. So the students will make a story out of the children's books. And the week 13 is a movie talk. Actually, it's not a movie, it's like a whiteboard animation. So students will have to dub this movie, this animation. Okay. This table is just a brief introduction, and it doesn't include all the details of a task. So what is a good task? According to the ZPD chart, there are 3 kinds of tasks. Tasks that learners can do without any assistance, tasks that learners can do with assistance, and tasks that learners can't do even with assistance. So this can also echo Professor Stephen Krashen's I+1 theory, right? The core is the I, the middle is the +1, and the outside circle is the +n. So which will be too challenging for students. A better task should be in between, allowing students to accomplish using what they have just learned. Okay, so a good task design doesn't necessarily mean a good task implement. So here are some strategies that can be used in-class tasks. Firstly, scaffolding is the key to a successful task implement. We often overestimate students' ability to get what we are seeing. We can show them first by providing a model or making an instructional video. In my opinion, a task should be a combination of a sequence of small tasks. So we can start with the easier ones or even easier activities. We can also begin with a survey or a discussion. During the task, always provide a platform for them to ask questions, to pause. The chat and the note function of 主目 is very useful here. So tell students that they can use the chat privately to ask questions that they don't want to be shared with other students. We can build a safe environment by making fun of yourself and sharing your feelings and thoughts first. Okay, so take the task of my wedding planning as an example. I didn't ask them to design their wedding invitation and write about their dream wedding at the very beginning, although that's the main task. We start with a short 2 minutes video introducing Chinese wedding, a brainstorm of the Chinese wedding elements using a word cloud of the Mentimeter, a look into the differences between Chinese and Western weddings, a presentation to the other group on their preference of wedding, and then the invitation design and the essay writing. The invitations were designed using Canva, by the way. Another example is the writing coursework of this module. During the class, I firstly gave them an introduction of Helsinki, the capital of Finland, using Google Earth, and ask them to play as tourists and ask questions. After showing them what to do, they were asked to prepare a virtual tour in groups and introduce one of their favorite cities. It's like a jigsaw activity. And for the writing coursework, the scenario is that they run a traveling agency and they need to advertise a destination with a poster and then reply to one of their potential customers' email. Okay. The second strategy is try to integrate problem-based learning. I asked my students to prepare some questions from the asynchronous classes, and we would discuss the questions or problems first thing at the very beginning of each live class. But it didn't work because none of them had ever asked any questions. Then I talked with our academic manager of MLC, Yao Wu, during our peer observation discussion. And she inspired me of providing students with a simple task sheet, write down 3 most useful words you have learned today, or vote for the most difficult words or expressions. We can use the choice function on learning mode to do this and ask one question at least. This really has improved the situation, and the first 10 minutes class time have been spent on working on those problems. The third is peer instruction. To teach is to learn twice. We all know that. And the learning pyramid tells us that the best way to learn is to teach. So if we are teaching all the time in the classroom, who will learn more? I think we will be the best learner in the classroom. We can assign students with the different learning objectives, like some certain vocabularies or expressions, and ask them to prepare for their teaching. Number 4 is collaborative learning. Use breakout rooms. Collaborative learning can promote collective intelligence. Sometimes when I observed in the breakout, I was inspired by students' ideas. If you have been doing online teaching, you might have also noticed that those students with their camera off, normally they will turn it on during the breakout session. So it could increase students' engagement, thus enhance students' understanding. And number 5 is to value silence. Before I used to think that I should make the best use of the classroom time. I feel uncomfortable with the silent moment. But I have learned that silence actually allows students to think at their own pace and gives them more space to reflect what they have done. And number 6 is jigsaw. I really think jigsaw makes students an expert on some topic and gives them an opportunity to teach the other group of students. So it enhances collaborative learning, increases the engagement of each student, because as you can see, they have a task to do in the expert group and the teaching group. So it also improves active learning. Take this one as an example. This is with the topic of Chinese medicine. I provided materials of 3 aspects: diet, sports, and medicine, with follow-up questions. The expert group must work together to study and answer these questions. Then they will be allowed to, then they will be allocated to another breakout group to share their findings and put their information together. So this task was done when we discussed the Chinese food. Expert group should watch a video and write a recipe of the special dish. And then they will teach the other group how to make this dish in the teaching group. Another task I want to share is the picture or movie talk. I have to admit that people love stories. Stories have a unique ability to build connections. And we especially like dramas and gossips. That's probably why Keeping Up with the Kardashians attracts so many audience and lasts forever. I think it will end soon. Of course, we don't want our students to be as dumb as the Kardashians, but there is no harm to add something exciting to your silly stories. We can borrow the children's books or the movie clips of Kung Fu Panda, for example, and the animations produced already. But in most situations, those stories are not that intriguing and exciting. So we can create our own stories using whiteboard animation or just PowerPoint. Just to put the pictures together and tell them which word they should use. And we can also add some drama by borrowing the celebrity's charm. So students can also propose their favorite person or their favorite character. As this task has shown that these 3 are the interviewees for the next president of USA, and those are the interviewers. Students can choose the role and they can have a discussion. This task was conducted when we are learning Korea, 跳槽, to change the job. And we can award students with the title of Best Writer after the story creating. So I will leave 5 minutes for the questions, and I will end this workshop with Benjamin Franklin's very famous quote, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So if you have any questions, you can turn on your mic and ask me, and you can also type it in the chat. Any questions? No, I don't see any questions. Haixia, are you using an advanced version of Zoom? No, I'm not using an advanced version. It's the same 主幕 actually, not Zoom. We can't use Zoom right now. 主幕, no, it's not an advanced version. As it records messages from breakout rooms too. I don't know if it records messages from breakout room. Oh, you mean you received my messages when you are in the breakout rooms? That's because I use the function called, there is a function that you can broadcast to all the students in the breakout rooms to remind them of something. How much time the students need to prepare for those tasks? It depends, because if it's a very complicated one, like the debate task, I think it's very complicated. So normally I will give them like 1 hour to 1.5 hours, and part of the job should be done after class as their homework. By the way, I'm going to, I have already submitted a proposal to the Learning and Teaching in China, LTIC magazine of our SOL. So it's about the debate activity, how to conduct the debate activity. So if you are interested, maybe you can have a look later. So it depends on which task we are talking about. For some tasks, they don't use lots of time to prepare. Like the movie talk, I gave them more time to prepare. Were any of those tasks assessed? If so, how were they assessed? That's a really good question. If you mean official assessment that can be calculated as part of their final grades, no. It's not part of their final grades, but I will provide feedback while assess their outcome. Like when they produce a movie talk, double a movie, I will provide some feedback on their language using. So I'm like, my role is like a judge or an interviewer sometimes, or monitor, I would say monitor. So, okay. Are there any other questions? I would like to share some data with you, but we haven't received the MQ yet, and I have conducted a questionnaire, but have only got like four students' response. So later, when I collected more data, I can share it with you. And I have also extracted some of the data from Learning More. Let me see. We only have got 1 minute, so let me see if I can share some of the data with you. Okay, these are the data I extracted from the Learning More page. As you can see, 13 students in this module, and 246 activities has been created on Learning More. And this is the data of students' visits during this semester. The blue one stands for students' visits. And the highest visit is 6,000, and the lowest is 2,000, and the average per students during 7-day visits is 306, which is pretty high comparing with other modules or previous years. And the activities with most views are a study plan. I give them a study plan at the beginning of every week, and assessment, assignments, mock tests, quiz assignments forum, H5P, on-site resources, choice, Etherpad, and debate. Because we just use debate function to collect ideas. We don't really conduct the debate on Learning. Time is up. If you don't have any other questions, I will give the room to Christina. You're very welcome. My office is 240 if you want to communicate. Welcome to my office all the time. Okay, Rui Hong, I have handed the role of the host to you.